are a trained professional, man. You got it all set. You're working all your gizmos. Pretty awesome.
You know, the thing is, the secret is doing it over and over and over again.
Repetition.
All right, here we go.
Right?
Yep, that's right. Welcome back to another episode of the What Are You Made Of with your boy, Mike C-Roc. So glad to have you guys here. This has been a great, wild journey. And let's start off the show, first of all, with gratitude. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for the support and the listenership. And not only that, the feedback that you give me for the movement and all the clips that I've been putting out to really preach to myself, guys. I like to preach to myself a lot and then let you guys be just hear as it's going on and be impacted by it. And if I inspire one person, it's worth it. So let me start off by that, the gratitude. And then let me thank Dr. Greg Reid for joining us, author of 3 Feet from Gold, which is a book that I read recently. He's wrote many others, but yeah, there I have it too. So we're going to start getting get into the books, but first we're going to find out what you're made of. So that the question I always ask, Greg, is what are you made of?
Piss and vinegar. I mean, I got a little bit more energy than most people are used to. And it's kind of ironic. As a kid, I got in trouble nonstop because of the ADD and the attention span and talking out of class. And now I'm rewarded and celebrated for it. So never let another person or yourself talk you out of what you know to be true.
I can relate to that so much. Recently, in the last couple of years, I felt like I had an animal inside of me, and I felt bad about it until I met Grant Cardone and the 10X movement, and they validated that feeling. And similar to what you've been through on your journey with the mentors that you had and the interviews that you did for 3 Feet from Gold. I mean, talk about the validation that you received after being like that as a kid in school, to being able to really understand that animal's natural and let it go.
Yeah, it's so funny. So I just pulled out an old report card, and in 11th grade in my senior year, I got a D in creative writing. And now I've been published in 100 books, 45 languages, and have a star on the Walk of Fame for writing books. Again, goes back to the original moral. And it comes, for me, is to work your strengths and you hire your weaknesses. So look, I'm gonna be honest. I can't really read and write. I'm dyslexic. I can't spell. Play me words with friends. You'll win every time. So what I did is I took my gift of gab, sat down with amazing ghostwriters, editors, and they crafted my words in a way people would want to read it, and went on to become a global phenomenon.
Well, look, here's the thing too. You and I had a conversation last week, I believe, or the week before, and I was fighting a battle. And by the way, I'm transparent with my guests and my audience. As I go on my journey, I already know where I'm going to end up. I might go even higher than I think, but I already know where I'm going to end up. So I wanted to share my journey, my setbacks, everything, and my vulnerabilities. And so you and I talked about this, and I'm writing this book, and I have a lot of content already, and I just don't feel like I'm a writer. Like, that's not a strength of mine. Now I could talk you and I relate so much with this, but I have to get this book out. The podcast isn't enough for me because some people like to read, so we talked about this, and, since we talked, I take action quick, and I'm getting this problem fixed. And so those of you listening, think about this. If you feel a weakness or insecurity, there's nothing wrong with working on it, right? You could still work on it to get better if you want to, but in the meantime, get it done. Figure out a way to get it done, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, people come up all the time. They go, I got a book in me. I've been working on it for 10 years. What do you do? And I go, stop. I go, the realities are you're not a writer, or you would have been written. So work your strengths, hire your weaknesses. Look, the same thing when it comes down to my accounting. Look, I'm not great with numbers, so I have the most amazing, people that go over all the books and things like that, and someone else double checks them before they're submitted. But the realities are I work my strengths and I hire people to work my weaknesses. And I realize that every millionaire, billionaire that I've ever spoken to, that is the simplistic form of how they run their operation. When I wanted to be a best-selling author, I went to Barnes & Noble. I bought every best-selling book. I didn't go to the right best written books. I want to be a great writing author. And I called those authors and said, will you teach me? And they did. I duplicated my own spin, and here we are today. To me, that is a blueprint of all success.
How long ago did that journey start with the book, the writing, when you did that?
Back in my day. So here's the short little story. From age 20 to 40, I only had one job. So I was in advertising, and I was really good. I excelled in it. And I started my own agency, and it became very popular, and I sold it when I was 39 years old. And I was speaking at a university, and someone said, hey, you should write a book. I go, man, that's a great goal. I've never really read a book. So that's how it all began. And the very first project I ever did was called The Millionaire Mentor. I was turned down by 268 publishers in a row. The 269th one said, we'll do your project, just change the beginning, middle, beginning, and end because you stink. And so I got my first ghostwriter. They crafted it, and it went on to sell in, I think, 9 languages overnight, and was a huge, huge beginning. But
no, wait a minute. Whoa, before you get to the moral of the story, I don't mean to cut you off, but how many were you going to go to before you quit?
Until they're all gone, and then I go.
I love it. 268, man.
You know, the whole thing is, it would have been easy to quit after 50 or 100 rejection or 200, but I use it as fuel, just like you talked about earlier. So I took a piece of tape and I took my rejection letter and I stuck it to the wall. And every time I walked in the office, it was wallpapered with rejection letters. And to me, I went, all right, 8 more query letters go out today, until finally I broke through. Same thing when I was making my movie, and it's all on Netflix right now. Everyone for 6 years told me no, and it wouldn't work, and all the reasons, but I will never let another person validate or take away my dreams.
Yeah. And you know, the thing about the podcast that I have, like when I first started, I went right after big guests, right from the start, man.
Why not?
And they would tell me no. And then they said, how many listeners do you have? How many? I didn't even know what that meant. Like, how to find that out, or I had no idea. And so, you know what I did? Like, same thing. Like, I just kept asking people. But the other thing is that I said to myself, okay, I'm going to make this show so damn popular. They're going to be begging to come on my show. That's the psychology that I use. It's weird, like, but it works. And that's the premise behind 3 Feet from Gold, which obviously that title came from Think and Grow Rich, right?
Oh,
Want to talk about that?
Yeah, so in 1908, Napoleon Hill was given a letter by Andrew Carnegie, the richest dude of the world, to go out on a journey to meet all of his friends and create the first ever formula for success. Became the 20th best-selling book in history, Think and Grow Rich. 100 years later, the Napoleon Hill Foundation and the surviving family wrote me a very similar letter and sent me on my way. So I have a Willy Wonka ticket to meet anyone alive. So my full-time job is I travel around the planet, meet the most powerful, influential people, and I tell their stories in books and film, and created the Think and Grow Rich series. And you're talking about 3 Feet from Gold. I mean, this was done 12 years ago. We just re-released it this year. It's at every, Barnes and Noble and the airports and whatnot. But what's really cool is just recently, this is badass. Napoleon Hill, before he died, that was his last title, Success in Something Greater, and he never got a chance to publish this book. So the foundation gave it to Sharon Lecter, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad with Kiyosaki, myself, and we came out with it, and we have unpublished work that no one's ever seen in Napoleon Hill. This little bad boy is what I'm most excited about right now.
Wow, man. So is it out yet for everyone?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm on it.
You can go through the airport, pick it up. You can go to Barnes & Noble, buy it online. But what's cool is we sat down with amazing people. I got to tell you one quick story. The guy who we interviewed first, his name was Fred. He invented something, the 2-person jet ski. Everyone knows what a jet ski is. He sold the rights for $75 grand. I go, dude, that must just kick you in the ass. He goes, what? I go, it's $1 billion brand. You ever hear of Ski-Doo? You sold it for $75 grand. He goes, yeah. I go, that must eat you alive. He goes, no, it's the greatest deal I ever did. I go, what? Don't you understand? And he goes, let me explain. At that time, 75 grand was all the money in the world to me. He goes, I was about to lose my house and I got to keep it. It was in the family for years and generations. He goes, I got my employees caught up in my taxes. It was the first time in my adult life I slept all the way through the night for weeks on end. I was going through the closet. I had free time. I started cleaning out the attic and everything else. And I found these little die-cast metal cars I played with as a child. A buddy of mine is in NASCAR, so I put his number and I gifted it to him. The other drivers saw it. They got upset. They wanted their own. So NASCAR came to me and bought the rights for $152 million. He goes, sometimes as an entrepreneur, you have to do a deal in order to get you through to do another deal.
Unreal, man. By the way, that story is unreal. You're a great storyteller, by the way. Like
Yeah.
that's one thing I noticed when I first started. By the way, shout out to Brandon Dawson, who introduced me to Greg.
Brandon, the man.
Yeah, Brandon's been a great mentor of mine in business. And yeah, like as soon as I saw you for the first time, like, this guy could tell stories, man. I want to be like Greg Reid when I grow up. By the way, same haircut, see?
They say they have same barber, 2 for 1.
Yep. I had a lot of hair, and then when I saw you for the first time, I decided to cut my hair just like you.
And grow the little goatee.
There you go.
West Coast. Exactly.
Yeah, so we are currently, some friends of mine and associates are having a book study every Monday night. It sounds kind of nerdy for those that don't read, but we study Think and Grow Rich right now. And then to follow that up, we're going to follow it up with 3 Feet from Gold, believe it or not. And we just read some, and then we talk about how we're implementing it in our lives. And you get to see other people's perspectives of the book. When you read it by yourself, you're just seeing what you look at. And it's been a magical experience for us. We're in week 3, I think. So
okay, I want to come back to 3 Feet from Gold in a second, but Think and Grow Rich, the biggest chapter that Napoleon Hill wrote in that book was the last chapter, and it was dedicated to fear, the 6 ghosts of fear. And he talked about the fear of poverty, fear of old age, fear of loss of love. And as relevant it was 100 years ago, I don't agree that that's true today. I think the biggest fears are the fear of pain, it's the fear of loss, it's the fear of the unknown, but the biggest one is the fear of judgment. And there's a bumper sticker that says, what would you do if you couldn't fail? I say you throw that away. And the big question is, what would you do the moment you stop giving a crap what people thought? Would you ask that person out for a date? Would you write that book? Would you start that business? And the big news flash, no one's thinking about you. They're dealing with their own life situation, especially right now. This is the perfect, most ideal time in history to buckle down and start living your dreams, because bottom line, it'll separate yourself from the 95% who are dreaming of success to the top 5% who actually give it. And 3 Feet from Gold, a city in California out of San Diego, just picked it up as their book of the month. And I did a thing with their city council, their mayor, everything last week, and they did a book study club. Their takeaways were different than even I wrote. It was pretty spectacular.
That's amazing, man. So the thing about what you're just talking about, how most people don't think about you as much as you think they do, prevents salespeople and businesses from doing business.
Amen.
And that it's a weird correlation there, because, they think, well, the phone's going to ring because they're thinking about me, or I don't want to call them because I don't want that to annoy them. They're not thinking about you. Is that some kind of like ego thing that we have, or something that prevents us from chasing our dreams, but also prevents us from selling and having massive success in our businesses?
Well, either way, it comes back to fear. Whatever that fear is, fear of something. Yeah. And most people would rather live with that fear of the unknown, because it might happen or not happen, rather than actually take action and get the results. And the fact of the matter is, you've heard the saying a million times, we spend 95% of our time worrying about 5% that actually happens. How many times have we gone to a party or an event and we get everyone's contacts and cell phone numbers and business cards, and we wait for that perfect time to call them? This is it. This is that time you've been waiting for. It's a great opportunity to reach out to people, because whatever you're going through, other people are seeking you in return.
Yeah, I've noticed that I tend to jump on things when I get an idea or a thought like that, because I find that if I let too much time go by, there's too many reasons that come up not to do it, right? And so I've noticed that I try to teach I have a mortgage company that I run here in the Mid-Atlantic region, a division of Nations Lending. And what we do is, we constantly build our people. We have the mortgage company that's our vehicle. But every morning that we wake up and our leadership team wakes up, is we're really trying to focus on how can we develop our people? How can we bring greatness out of them? How can we change their lives? That way it creates an attraction model for other people to want to be a part of it. Not just employees, but also customers and referral partners, and just be different than anybody else.
I love it. It goes down to attraction rather than promotion. It's an old Alcoholics Anonymous routine, but it's so true in everything we do. If we can become the living embodiment of what other people aspire to be, and we live that example, it's kind of like something that you began with. One of the things that's cool about Grant, one of the cool things about you, is that the new stage of guru status is not going to be all the people that were broke, people that were homeless and now I'm a millionaire. It's going to be the people that had success, meteoric rise, but they actually maintained it. They've had their ups and downs, but they're still into that thing, and they've accomplished what everyone else is talking about. What's missing in today's world is credible sources. It's driving me and my friends crazy. Everyone with these Instagram images and, stand in front of a Ferrari thinks that they're a marketing genius, but they're not. Just because you bought Bitcoin at $2,000 and, it went up doesn't mean you're a great investor. You're smart and got lucky with a hit, but it doesn't mean that you're smart in everything. So I think what we need to do is start seeking people with counsel rather than just opinion.
Right, 100%. And that, that's what you did in 3 Feet from Gold. You interviewed a lot of people that went through it, done it, built it. So first of all, when you wrote this book, and those that have not read this book yet, basically it's a, what would you call it? A fable?
Yeah,
style, parable style, but it's really kind of resembles what you went through, right?
No, it is my story.
Right.
So
It's your story, but there's some a little bit of changes in it here or there, but it's mainly so that, and I love this idea is that sometimes I feel like I'm preaching to people. Right. So talk about that, how you wrote this book in that style and the reason that you did that, because you mentioned that to me the other day.
yeah, I think parable is great. And it's the future of books because people are tired of, again, gurus going, you should do, look at this energy. It's like stabbing people. You should do this, right? But if you tell a story from the student's perspective, that you're going along this quest and other people are going along the journey, you just happen to be 2 steps further. Well, what happens is that you engage with people. So as you read my books, you feel literally engaged because it's usually a mentor-mentee mentality where the mentor is kicking the tail out of the mentor and you're going like, yeah, you go get them, but you're learning and absorbing rather than be preached to, so to speak.
Right. So as I read that book, I'm sitting there talking about where you left the jacket somewhere. That story really happened? Or is
Yeah,
that kind of added in?
it's kind of Charlie Tremendous Jones. He was 6'5", and every time he always give me these jackets, and I'd swim in them. I'm a 5'7", a little tiny guy, and it was really interesting the perspectives of that book because Buckland, which is the main character, David and Mia are the composite characters of all the people in my life. Everyone else was in real time.
Yeah, and as I'm reading it, I really could feel the relationship struggles and all that. It's really well put together like that. But as you did that, how you got involved with the Napoleon Hill Foundation, talk to that a little bit because that intrigued me as well. Because a lot of people think about, man, I'd love to get involved with this foundation or this person or reach out to this person, but they just sit back. And you talked about the fear, right? But how did you overcome that? And talk about what went through your mind with that when you thought about doing that. Did you take action right away or did you fight it? Like, talk about that.
Well, sometimes we just need a champion in our corner to, push us forward. Just like we're talking about Brandon, we're talking about Grant. Sometimes we need one champion to believe in us, to push us forward to, we can start seeing the greatness within ourselves that we can't see. And I was very fortunate. Again, Charlie Tremendous Jones was my mentor. Before he passed away, he started a nonprofit and he invited the biggest names in the industry. I won't name drop you, but it was insane. And me. I was the least qualified guy there. And at the end of it, he went to Don Green, who is the CEO of Napoleon Hill Foundation, and said, give this guy a shot. And that's what started the true journey. Sometimes, again, we need one champion to believe in us. And when I wrote that book and all these other ones, I found a little bit different success, I guess, in reaching out to people. I found that the most successful people were the most available people. And the reason why is I was very specific in my ask. So for example, if I was reaching out to a guy who started NASCAR, I don't know what a NASCAR is from San Diego, but I reach out and say, listen, I need 12.5 minutes of your time. I'm going to cover all my flight, my own expense. By the time I get to your door and open it up till the time I leave will be 12.5 minutes. I'm going to ask you one simple question, why you didn't quit 3 feet from goal. That's it. The chance of them giving me that time is high. But if I say, I want to pick your brain, I want to take you to lunch, I want to buy you dinner, the answer is going to be no, because I don't know you and I'm not going to give 3 hours of my life away. But if that specificity is what I think is what's opening up the doors of opportunity today.
And besides paying your way and all, have you paid for access to people, meaning masterminds, coaching sessions, mentorship?
Well, I've never, you don't, okay, so this is all semantics, so I'm going to be very careful on this one. You should never pay for mentorship. You should pay for coaching. 2 different things. A mentor is somebody who's an old, wise person who's already accomplished what you want in your field. They give you the broad picture and tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Then you hire a coach to kick your ass and keep you on track. It's kind of like going to someone, a nutritionist, or looking in the mirror saying, I need to lose weight, but then you hire a coach to make sure you wake up and go do it. So I think those are 2 different, in my book, 2 different things. Then door number 2, we should have multiple mentors, multiple coaches in our life. And then door number 3 is absolutely I hire people because I surround myself with people that are getting the results that I want for myself today. Example, if I was going to open up a brand new restaurant, my good friend and mentor started Chuck E. Cheese, but he did it 40 years ago. I probably wouldn't go to him. I'd go, hey, who's doing Five Guys or In-N-Out or whatever the popular trend is, and go to those people and ask them. And if you can buy your way in to get the learning curve and save 10 years of your life, heck yes, do that all day long.
Yeah, that's I love that. And the more I do that, the more money I seem to make and the happier I am. It's a crazy thing. I don't know why. I'm pissed at myself. No regrets, but still like, wow, man, why didn't I start like 20 years old to do this stuff? But I guess you got to develop and you have to have all your ingredients put inside of you first. What are you made of? to get to the point where you figure that out or run into the right people.
And make sure you're hiring these coaches and mentors and all these different people that are getting the results you want. They're a credible source. Listen to me. There's nothing more frustrating, I'm sure for you too, that someone goes and pays $5,000 or $10,000 to learn how to write a book from some knucklehead that you can't go into Barnes and Noble and buy their book. I hate that. I mean, look for people that are getting the results that you want. Don't be afraid to ask and see their proven success. If someone says, hey, I'm going to teach you to be a great speaker, go, awesome. Show me all the stages you've been. Have you been on the floor of the General Assembly of the United Nations? Have you spoke to the Pentagon? Are you a TED speaker? And if the answer is no, be careful where you're spending your dough.
Yeah. And, that happens way too often, wasted time. I see it all the time with people that aren't even in business and they're trying to be coaches.
Yeah. It's our fault too, though. Let's be honest, because we taught people fake it till you make it. Now they're faking till you make it so much that's it. So now I'm changing it. Don't fake it till you look for counsel from people that know what they're talking about.
It's the responsibility of the student. That's what it comes down to, right? So what about, you said numerous mentors or numerous coaches, but how do you avoid conflict of information? Or do you find that once you talk to enough successful people that have done it, the information's so similar though, it's not conflicting?
Oh gosh, I hope it's conflicting. So I guess I have a different viewpoint. I live my life, it's called hand in the sand. So imagine you grab a handful of sand. If you ask for input and someone gives you some information, if it doesn't feed with you, you say, thank you very much. You don't but them, put up a wall. You say, thank you very much. You honor them for offering it and let it slip through your finger. If someone gives you more counsel and it makes sense, you keep it in your palm. And as you keep closing your fist, that becomes the program that works for you. So the reason why I've had the modicum of success I've had in my life is because when it comes to writing books, I took all the stuff that worked for me, making movies, starting businesses, going public with businesses, things of this nature, and make sure that I do it the way that makes the most sense for my situation.
Now, I took notes from our conversation the other day, and I wanted to bring up a topic here because I thought this was very profound, and I want to share this with the audience. And you talked about having the 3 versions when you're talking about pitching yourself.
Wait, you took notes just from us chatting the other day? Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Come on now. And I wanted to talk to the audience about that because, when you talk about, first of all, you have to have your hook, your name, hook, and a nickname, right? So talk to the audience about this. And then there was the elevator speech, and then you have your essay version, and then you have your product, good, or service. So a lot of people listening need this information. Yeah. And so, I took this to heart and I started working on this myself because I've already done it, but then the way you put this made sense to me. Sometimes I hear things and it doesn't make sense to me.
This is interesting because I've never shared this publicly. So
I hope I'm okay with that.
It's different, but I'm going to do it for you. Because this is me. This, by the way, everyone watching, cost me $130,000 to learn what I'm going to teach you right now. And just like he said, did I pay? Yes, $130,000 to learn what I'm going to teach you right now. I went around the country and I interviewed the guys who did Oprah, TV shows, Good Morning America, all the different ones, and said, why do I keep seeing the same person on TV? Why is the same speaker on stage? Why is the same books being sold? And I figured there had to be a blueprint, and I wanted to figure it out. And no one's ever taught what I'm about to share with you. Well, step 1 is first of all, there's 4 steps. People who follow it in public speaking and expertise become successful. Those who don't fail, by the way, 100% will. 1, come up with something called a name and a hook. It's like a fish's mouth where it hooks you in. The whole idea is there's nothing worse than going to networking parties and going, my name's Bob, I'm a lawyer and I do estate planning and da-da-da. No one gives a crap. What you want is someone to sit there and pull in and ask you a question. So for example, when I was doing my first book, just as a good example, Millionaire Mentor, I'd go to a party and say, hi, my name's Greg. They call me the Millionaire Mentor. Well, what's that? Or whatever, right? You want something to ask a question. Door 2. It's your elevator speech.
Wait a minute. Let me clarify. Hook is something that's designed to have them ask for more.
That's right.
Just to clarify for those listening.
To grab your attention. Step 2 is your elevator speech. But here's what people really want to know. Who you are, what's your message, why are you an expert, and why should I give a crap? That's who you are, what's your message, why are you an expert, why should I give a crap?
Or shit, like you told me.
Yeah, so the bottom line is I would sit there and say, hey, my name's Greg. They call me the Millionaire Mentor. Well, what's that? Here it is. I'm like the new Zig Ziglar of today. I teach people to get what you want. You help others get what they want. I became a millionaire doing what my mentors taught me. Now I teach others. Maybe you could do it too. Who am I? Greg, the Millionaire Mentor. What's my message? Get what you want, help others. Why am I an expert? Because I became successful doing. Why should you care? Because I'm going to teach you what I did. Step 3 is your essay version. What I do for Bandcamp. This is where you actually see your expertise in action. And I would sit there and say, hey, let's get this out of the way. I don't just mentor millionaires. I work with inner city gang kids in San Diego. Happen to be successful. So I drive up in a new car. The kids would say, here comes my millionaire mentor. It became a badge of honor. The president of the United States wrote a letter of commendation, changed my life and my community. There's my expertise in action. And then step 4 is your product, good, or service. Now watch this all in alignment. Imagine if I call up the local TV station and said, hey, put me on. I want to come down and be on the morning news. Well, tell me about yourself. Well, I just want to help people. How many times you heard that one, right? Click. But now the same note. Hi, I'd like to be on your TV show tomorrow. Who are you? I'm Greg. They call me the Millionaire Mentor. Well, what's that? I'm like the new Zig Ziglar. I teach people to get what you want. You help others get what they want. Became very successful doing it. And now I teach others they can do it too. Well, I want to be a millionaire. Wait a second. I don't just work with rich people. I happen to mentor inner city gang kids here in San Diego. Be successful. So I drive in a new car. The kids would say, here comes my millionaire mentor. Became a badge of honor where the president of the United States wrote a letter of commendation. Changed my life and my community. Step 4, which leads me to my latest book, The Millionaire Mentor, where I'll teach your audience where they can do the same in life and business. That's it. Now I'm an expert. That's it. If you go back and look at Zig Ziglar, see at the top, Tony Robbins, personal power, Les Brown, you got to be hungry, Grant Cardone, 10X. Everyone followed this exact principle, whether they knew it or not.
Yeah, well, recreate the wheel. The blueprint's there. I had to have you share that. I appreciate you doing that, man. Because I mean, I didn't know you never shared that on in public before. But it's phenomenal, guys. And it's like the book, the movie and the book, The Secret. If you've seen that, I think it was 2006. I think that it came out, something like that. The blueprint's there, guys. Just grab it and use it. Last question, Greg. Why did you decide to come on the What Are You Made Of podcast?
Because it was a request, and birds of a feather flock together between. Ken and I have become buddies. All the circle of the 10X community is spectacular. I mean, absolutely phenomenon. By the way, so Grant and Elena, myself, and a bunch of people went and spoke at the Pentagon a few years ago to all the military generals, and we built up our first relationship there. And just to see the impact that this community is making on other people, it really is something special. So if there's anything I can ever do to be of contribution and give back, the answer is 100% going to be yes.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us. How can my audience get in touch with you, engage with you further?
Well, my website is my name, gregreid.com, or just go to Instagram. It's probably the easiest thing, Greg S. Reid, and just direct message me. Everything goes directly to my phone. The only thing that I ask is, I don't want to talk about the weather or what you ate for dinner or the kids, but if you say, hey, look, I'm working on this business strategy, what do you think? Or give me a book recommendation, I promise I'll get back to you within minutes.
Oh, and one more thing. I saw the Secret Knock. I saw some information on that. I wanted to say that. Give us a real quick thing on Secret Knock, what that is, and I might be wanting to go to that.
Yeah, it's kind of a secret, but it's cool. So what happened is that it was an accident, and people kept asking me, how do I meet all your friends from all these different books and product? And so I started an event in my living room, and people said, well, how do I know? Do I need a ticket to get in? I go, no, just do the Secret Knock bump. I don't know, as a joke. It became a phenomenon, and now we're Forbes, Inc. and Entrepreneur's top business event for business leaders, where I do not bring in coaches and teachers and mentors. I just bring in the actual human who did it. So if you want to start a new clothing line, you're going to meet the founder of UGG Boots, a $1 billion brand. If you want to start a nonprofit, you're going to have lunch and tacos and have a beer with, Frank Shankwitz, who started Make-A-Wish Foundation. If you want to get into politics, President Vicente Fox comes. Or if you want to speak to a military general, or all the way down to, Oscar-winning actors, we bring them in. There's no VIP codes. Everyone's the same. Once you're in, you're in. There's no name tags. We treat everyone the same. But you have to go and fill out an application to make sure you're not a wackerdoodle to come into our tribe.
Awesome, man. I love it. Thanks for covering that. Thank you for appearing on the show today. Thank you for your friendship. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, Greg, let me know, okay?
Keep smiling.
Thank you. You guys have been listening to the What Are You Made Of podcast with your boy, Mike C-Roc. Go subscribe to iTunes, Spotify, or my YouTube channel, Mike C-Roc Ciorrocco. Until next time, keep kicking butt.